And welcome to this session in which we will discuss Incident Response Plan. Incident Response Plan is a topic that we need to be familiar with if you're studying for the CPA exam, Information Systems and Control section. In this session, we're going to have an introductory session about this topic, and we're going to have a few other sessions, maybe 4 or 5 lectures that revolves around this Incident Response Plan or IRP. What is IRP? It's a comprehensive strategy. It's simply put, it's a strategy documented to do what? To guide the organization in detecting, managing, and mitigating cyber attacks. Now, obviously, we would rather have no cyber attacks whatsoever, but we are going to experience cyber attacks. That is a reality. Well, we're going to have to find a way to detect, manage the response, and mitigate the cyber attacks. So it's important for an organization to have a well-structured and systematic approach ready for handling such incidents. You hope they don't happen, but you want to be prepared. And this is what the Incident Response Plan implies. Well, if it happens, we are ready to respond. So this plan should include a clear guide on how to identify an attack, steps to be taken immediately after we detect an attack, and the roles of each member of this incident response team. We're going to put a team together. We're going to talk about the team in a separate recording. How is the team is formed? What should it look like? What's the good characteristic, good trait of a team? Let's go ahead and get started by discussing the importance of an incident response plan. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today.
Importance of IRP. Well, it's to do what? To make sure we have a coordinated and efficient reaction to security breaches in order to minimize their impact. Simply put, we don't wait until the attack happens, then we'll try to figure things out. We want to be prepared as early as possible, have a plan. And remember, the plan is not the same for all companies. There's not one size plan that fits all. Each company will have a different incident response plan based on their industry, on the complexity, on the data and the IT system that they are protecting. So they must tailor to the specific needs and characteristic of the organization, whether they are heavily regulated, like are they subject to HIPAA and healthcare or not. And this customization should take into account, as I mentioned, the organization objective, goals, the size of the organization, how large, the structure, are they centralized, decentralized, the nature of their operation, as well as other factors. Simply put, if you really want to make an analogy, think of an IRP as a fire drill procedure, but for cyber threats. Just like a fire drill outline what everyone in a building should do in case of fire, an IRP plan outline what an organization does in case of a cyber attack. It's all about being prepared, knowing who does what, and acting swiftly to limit the damage. So this is basically why it's important. It's to be ready for an incident. This is why it's called an incident response plan. We're ready to respond. Now, the next thing we're going to look at are some key elements in those type of IRP. NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, it's an organization that we need to be very familiar with it for the CPA exam, outline key elements for any IRP plan. So we're going to look at these elements just to kind of give us an idea what should an IRP plan include in order to be successful. First is the company should have a mission. What's a mission? Purpose of the plan. Why are we outlining this plan? Obviously, answering why the plan exists and what it aims to protect within the organization. Obviously, it aims to protect the assets of the organization, the data, the IT system, PII, proprietary information. We're trying to protect all of those and respond to a cyber attack. We also outline strategies and goals. What is our approach and specific objective? What are we trying to do? Spell them out. Now, each company will be different. This might include preventive breaches, minimizing damage during an incident, and ensuring a quick recovery. 3, Senior management approval and statement of commitment. Well, a formal acknowledgement from the highest level of leadership demonstrating the organization dedication to cybersecurity and IRP. And this is basically part of the internal control, part of the control environment. We want to see that the people at the top, senior management, board of directors, they are endorsing cybersecurity. They are taking this commitment seriously. And this endorsement is crucial because we need money, we need resources to be able to enforce the plan. Also, the organizational approach to incident response. How are we going to respond? Well, just spell it out. Describe how the organization will manage and respond to incidents, including with methodology, tools, and procedures to be used. Now, we're going to look at methodology, tools, and procedure to be used later on in a separate recording. The purpose and objective of the policy. Clarify the intention behind the IRP plan and the desired outcome. Simply put, similar to the mission, but here more clear. The mission is basically an overall. The purpose and objectives are a little bit more specific. Scope of the policy outline the boundaries of the incident response plan, detailing which asset, department, and type of incidents are covered, ensuring that everyone knows what falls under the plan's preview. So basically, spell out what are the assets we're trying to protect. If we don't know what we're protecting, how are we protecting these assets? Those should be elements of the plan. Other elements, matrix for measurement for incident response capabilities and its effectiveness. We need to know key performance indicator, KPIs, to evaluate how well ERP works in practice. What will be some matrices? Response times. How long it took us to respond to a plan. Incident handling accuracy, how accurate were we in responding, and the overall impact of reduction. And we're going to look at various matrices later on. Roadmap for maturing the incident response capability. It's a plan for continuous improvement, outlining steps to enhance capabilities, because the plan changes over time. Why? Because the nature of the threat, the type of the threat changes constantly. Therefore, the plan should change to integrate new technology and new techniques over time. Definition of computer security incident and related term. And we're going to talk about security incidents and related events later on in a separate recording. Establishes a common language, common terminology by precisely defining what constitutes a security incident and other critical terms to make sure we are all on the same page. When we use a term, we all know what it means. Consistent understanding and communication. Organizational structure and definition of role responsibilities and level of authority. Again, who's responsible for what? The structure, the people. Detailing the hierarchy and the duties of individuals and teams involved. Clarifying who's responsible for what action and who has the authority to make decisions. Again, we'll talking about the people later on in a separate recording as well. This is an overview. Prioritization or severity rating of incident. Sets criteria. We might be attacked on several fronts. How do we prioritize? Set criteria for evaluating the seriousness of the incidents to determine response priority, ensuring that resources are focused where they are most needed. We could have 4 different incidents or 4 different attacks. Which one are we treating first if we have a limited amount of resources, which most likely we do have a limited amount of resources. Also, internal and external communication. Specify how communication should be handled within the organization. How are we going to inform our employees as well as external entities, law enforcement, the media, regulation during or after an incident, including protocols for confidentiality and information sharing. So an IRP plan would include those. Also, we need to have what's called an incident response timeline, a well-defined incident response to map out the sequence of action from the onset of a cyber incident through the restoration of normal operation. So basically, on a timeline, start to put down what's happening and monitor this. This timeline outlined the life cycle to an incident, breaking down the process into key phases. For example, when did the incident start? The moment the cyber attack starts or the security breach begins. When did we detect this? Detection, when the organization becomes aware of the incident through its detection mechanism. Containment, steps taken to limit the spread or the impact of the incident to prevent further damage. We contain it, then we're going to eradicate, removing the threat from the system, which can include detecting malicious files, deleting malicious files, or closing security vulnerabilities. And at the end, we need to recover, restoring affected systems and services to their normal operation. And obviously, after we recover, we want to learn from this, post-incident analysis, reviewing the incident to learn from it and improve future response efforts. So basically, we need some sort of a timeline. We could use various timeline technology or methods or software for that, or programs. Now, what are the method of detection? Well, an effective incident response plan should entail the specific techniques and technology the organization employed to spot potential security incident. Remember, we need to talk, we said when we're looking at key elements, we need to know about the tools and technologies we're going to be using, methodologies, tools, procedures. Now we're going to look at some of those, and we're going to look at other things that we looked at in this key, in those key elements of a plan. Vulnerability scanning software, we talked about this in a separate recording. Programs designed to inspect the network and system for security weakness. Looking for something unusual, think of it as a health checkup for your computer system. Think about like antivirus scanning, similar concept, seeking out any vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. And remember, when we discussed this vulnerability scanning software, we said attackers also can use it. So we have to use it early and close the gaps. Anomaly deduction. We're looking for any unusual behavior, any unusual pattern that could indicate, that could signal some sort of a breach. This method involves monitoring the network or system activities, usually using some vulnerability scanning program to spot unusual pattern. It's like having a guard who flags anything that's out of the ordinary. Endpoint detection and response solution, EDRs. Those are tools deployed on the devices endpoint, like the cell phone, laptop, desktop, tablet. To do what? To monitor for malicious activities and respond to the threat. It's similar to installing security camera in each room or a building for surveillance and immediate action upon detection something suspicious. Endpoint. The file integrity monitoring tracks changes to important files and settings. Why? Because we want to be alerted if any unauthorized modification are made. Imagine it as a sensor that alerts you if someone tries to tamper with your locked safe. You know, something's happening. Log analysis. And we talked about log analysis many times. Basically making sure we know who logged in, at what time, what they did. We can analyze this information. This involves examining detailed record of events, logs, to identify signs of potential security incident. Think of it as looking through a detailed phone bill to spot any unfamiliar call that could indicate someone else is using your phone. This is what log analysis. Also, we could use IDSs, intrusion detection systems, those tools that are actively to monitor the network for malicious activities or policy violation. Again, kind of similar to vulnerability scanning software, but those are specific tools. Then we a specific software. Intrusion prevention system. Again, similar to IDS, IPS can also take action to block or prevent. So IPS try to block something from happening. If something surpasses the IPS, the IDS, the detection system, should detect it, acting not just as the lookout, but also as the gatekeeper that can close the doors on attackers. Obviously, we can't forget physical security monitoring, and we mentioned this so many different times in many recordings. This refers to cameras, sensors, and other equipment, basically physical security, to monitor physical premises for unauthorized access or other security threats. It's like it's having security guard and surveillance camera around the building. It's not like having, it is having. It's, I would say, the like out. Security information and event management technology provide a bird's eye view of an organization's security posture by collecting and analyzing security-related data from various sources. So simply put, some centralized system that collect all this information and analyze it to look at the big picture. It's similar to a control center that gathers information from all security sensors in a city to spot and manage incidents. Also, threat intelligence software. This type of a software helps organizations understand and prepare for a known security threat by analyzing data on current and emerging threat. And we talked about this, threat intelligence software. This software contains all threats that happened in the past. They will analyze your current situation and see if there's something similar to something happening in the past. It's like having an intelligence agency that keeps you informed about potential threats so you can be prepared. Also, user behavior analytics, UBI tools, and we talked about those. They analyze users' activity to detect any abnormal behavior that might indicate security threat. An obvious one, for example, no one should log into the system after 9 p.m. And we see some type of someone is logging into the system. That's user behavior analytics. This is an example of it. Or on weekend, no one should be accessing the system. Imagine a system that notices when a normally punctual employee suddenly starts accessing files at odd hours. We're going to flag this as suspicious. So those are some methods, some early detection system that could tell us what's happening. And why these are important, because once we detect them, we should have a response plan, IRP. And this is where this all fits together. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. What is the primary purpose of conducting a post-incident analysis as part of an IRP? Let me tell you, you need to know that post-incident analysis happen at the end. After the incident is done, it's post-incident. So everything is done. We fix what we need to fix. We're back in business. Now we do a post-incident. What's the purpose of this? To assign blame to the parties responsible for the incidents. Well, this sounds very tempting, but there's no blame to assign. We don't assign any blame. Okay? We'll try to learn from what happened to evaluate the IRP effectiveness and identify improvement areas. I would say yes, this is the purpose of a post-incident analysis, to learn and improve. Evaluate what happened, learn from it, and improve. To fulfill insurance reporting requirement, we might have to do this, but this is not the primary. This is because the insurance company wanted. We might have to. To determine the compensation for affected customers, we might have to do post-incident analysis in order to determine the compensation. We might, but that's not the primary purpose. The primary purposes of a post-incident analysis is to learn and improve. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional MCQs. That's going to help you study for your CPA exam, your accounting courses, your finance courses. Invest in yourself. Good luck, study hard, and of course, stay safe.